Hello and welcome to another episode of the What You Want channel. Today, finally, I'm going to present to you the Seiko 5KX GMT. In this case, I have the orange version, which I think is the coolest of the bunch. You get them in a black one and a blueberry or Batman style black-blue GMT. And this orange one, I always wanted an orange Seiko in my collection, and I finally pulled the trigger on this one. I've got this one, I think 3 weeks ago, so I already have some experience with it, and I'd like to share my impressions with you and also compare it to some other Seikos divers sub 1,000 euros I have in my collection. Well, first of all, let's get the facts out of the way. It's the new caliber 4R34, which is a GMT movement. As far as I know, it's more or less a derivative of the 4R35, respectively the 4R36. They managed to redesign it in order to get a GMT function. And yes, it's not a true GMT. True GMT refers to a GMT, at least in the watch world or the watch geek world, where you can move the hour hand separately, and so it makes it way easier if you're traveling time zones on a very regular basis to adjust the time. This one is a caller or so-called office GMT, where you simply set the time as an usual three-hander, and you have to set the GMT hand separately. So this one has 21,600 vibrations per hour, so it's not as smooth as the 28,800 you get from, let's say, some ETA movements. So it beats with 6 seconds per second. Still smooth, but not as smooth as like the regular ETA vibration, so let's call it like this. A power reserve of 41 hours, and you always get it on a stainless steel bracelet. It's this Jubilee style bracelet with a 3-fold clasp. So this is also different to the standard Jubilee known on the SKX. And it has a Hardlex crystal, so no sapphire, and also a Hardlex crystal over the bezel inlay. So this is not aluminum, not ceramic, but it's Hardlex. So you really get the, let's say, the 50 fathoms Blancpain feeling if you have some glass over the bezel. You also get a see-through case back, which is always nice if you have mechanical watches, and especially, for example, if it's your first automatic or mechanical watch. It's definitely nice to have this see-through case back, even though the movement isn't particularly beautiful. It is 42 millimeters and it has a thickness of 30.5 millimeters, so it's 0.1 millimeters thicker than the regular Seiko Sports 5, and you can see it on my roughly 7-inch wrist. It wears very nicely, it's very comfortable, and as always, if you already know Seikos, you know they do some magic tricks to make big watches appear way smaller. So this wears like a 40 millimeter, I would say. It has a water resistant of 10 bars or 100 meters, and it retails for around 460 euros. And you can get some bargains around 400 euros. I think it's possible. Let's begin with the bezel action. You don't have a audible click, so let's move it to the microphone. You don't hear anything, unlike with the SKX or other divers where you get audible clicks. You don't have it here. But the thing is, you won't get some misalignment because you're able to align it properly yourself. And alignment issues, I don't have any. So this one is pretty much aligned. Also the magnifying glass over the date window is perfectly aligned. The nice sun ray on the dial is just beautiful. The overall looks of this watch is just perfect. I think Seiko nailed it. The bracelet isn't as comfortable as the one on the SKX. So first of all, don't really need this threefold clasp with the secure lock or the secure lock. I think this would have been nicer, slimmer, but this is just personal preference. And the overall bracelets are not entirely the same. You also look at the end links, they look a little different and it feels differently. The links here on the SKX are a little bit smaller and they move way more. So this is really jingly, whereas this one is more sturdy. So let's compare it. You see what I mean? And as a result, this one is even more comfortable. And also because it is more flexible and it has bigger gaps between the links, you won't sweat as easily on this bracelet as on this one. And of course I will give it a try and try to change or swap the bracelets to put this one on the 5KX, because this is my preferred bracelet. Overall, it's a nice bracelet. It's even though this is just pressed metal, get over it, it's comfortable. It has 4 micro adjustment holes, and I think this Jubilee style has a big advantage because it gives you some, let's say, bling, makes it a little bit more elegant than a simple oyster style bracelet. And because of this mix of polished and brushed, you won't have this scratch issue like on an entirely polished bracelet like I have on my Breitling Avenger. And because these polished elements are quite small, you won't really see scratches at all. So this is, I think, a very good style of bracelet in general. So the lume on this watch is just fine. We can compare it to the lume on the other Seikos I have here. And overall, I don't think it's an issue that you don't have a screw down crown. Screw down crown pretty much actually has the function to prevent you operating the crown underwater. That's it. You also get 200 meters and 300 meters water resistant watches without a screw down crown, because they have a technique that water pressure really puts the crown closer to the case the deeper you dive. So it's not really a necessity to deliver water resistant because you got 100 meters of water resistant. It's also not a diver, it's a GMT, so 100 meters is just perfectly fine. Simply forget the complaint about not having a screw down crown. It's more or less personal preference. Overall, I think you can't go wrong with this watch. And if you already have a bunch of Seikos, I would go for the orange one because it gives you some, let's say, something special in the collection. If you're a real, let's say, value hunter, probably, and if you're not interested in GMT, you should also look for the King Seiko models because you get ceramic bezel, sapphire crystal. If you're all about specs, this probably has the better specs, even though it wears a little bit bigger than the 5KX. If you're able to pick up an SKX, go for it. I have the 009. If you're able to get the 007, go for it as well. Just perfect iconic watches. And the hidden gem in the Seiko collection, probably in my opinion, is still the Seiko Sumo. You already have 4 or 5 generations. There's a new generation out there with ceramic and everything, but way more expensive than this one. This is the green one. It's just a beautiful case. Reminds me a little bit of this twisted style of my Speedmaster, even though it's totally different, but it's a beautiful watch and a hidden gem in the Seiko arsenal. But you came here to watch a video about the 5KX GMT, and if you're on the fence of buying it, I would say simply go for it. It's beautiful, it's versatile, and I think it's the perfect summer watch with this orange style hand. So if you're looking for a traveler, water resistant, fun watch, this one is probably the watch to get. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to my channel, leave some comments below, and see you in the next one.